Good day everyone, I am Gwyneth Kayakap and today we're going to tackle about the breads, meat and charcuterie. Bread, and in the French term, le pain. The tradition of making bread in France is one of the defining symbols of French culture. Every town has a boulangerie and artisan bakers thrive. Bread spread with butter and jam for breakfast. Tartines is the most common. Bread at lunch and dinner is normal. And now the first bread is the baguette or baguette in French. This bread is a long, thin type of bread of French origin that is commonly made from basic lean dough. The name baguette translates to wand or baton. Mong gitawag ni siya wand or baton tungod sa iyang gitason. This bread is distinguishable by its length and crisp crust. Has a diameter of about 5 to 6 centimeters and a usual length of about 65 centimeters, but baguette can also be up to 1 meter long. Baguette is often used for sandwiches, usually of the submarine sandwich type, but also a panini. Panini is a sandwich type. So there are 6 types of baguette. The first one is the baguette classic. This bread is also called baguette parisienne. The classic baguette with a thin, crisp crust baked in a pan to a golden brown. It is the bread for every occasion. This type of baguette is what you will most often see in the supermarkets and grocery stores across France. So kung mag-grocery mo sa France, permini ninyo makitaan sa supermarkets. So the next type of baguette is the baguette tradition. It was first created over 100 years ago in 1920 in Paris. This bread is sometimes called baguette de campagne or baguette rustique. It was enacted by law in 1993. A baguette tradition can only contain 4 ingredients, which are the flour, leavening, water, and salt. Some bakers use levain and the others augment their baguettes by adding yeast, but that's not common. The law called Decret Pont. The law states that traditional baguettes have to be made on the premises where they are sold. So dapat ugasan nimo gihimo ang pan adto ra sad nimo siya ibaligya. And ang kaning baguette kay dili ni siya pwede i-frozen at any stage or butngan baron og additives or preservatives, which also means nga madaot ni siya within 24 hours. So the baguette tradition is often sliced and served with pâté or cheese. As part of the traditional continental breakfast in France, slices of baguette, known as tartines, are spread with butter and jam and dunked in bowls of coffee or hot chocolate. So same ra pud siya sa tuwa nga Pinoy nga ang pan kay ituslo sa kape. Next is the baguette aux cereals. Includes small amounts of cereals like barley, oats, rye, or corn baked in with the flour. Baguette aux grains is pre-cooked in a natural stone deck oven. Includes small amounts of grains like linseeds or sesame seeds baked in with the flour. They are kneaded from a recipe that gives them a golden and crispy crust as well as a taste of sourdough and cereals. Their seed topping enhances their crispness and their toasted and fruity notes. Baguette mole or molded baguette. Similar to the classic baguette, except dough is poured into a mold which generally gives it more homogeneous appearance. Mole is actually not so different from the regular baguette. However, during the baking, the dough is put into a mold which generally gives it a more homogeneous and even appearance. Lastly, the demi-baguette. The half baguette is half the length of a normal baguette and is perfectly sized for sandwiches like the classic jumbo beurre or as a tartine in the morning with French butter. So ang kaning word nga demi kay atuan naman ni siyang nabagtan sa atuang past discussion. So kay baw na tao nga ang meaning ani kay half. And baguettes are also broken into pieces and eaten with something on top, such as cheese, charcuterie, or radishes, and often dip buttered a baguette into their coffee. Pain de campagne. So the name translates as country bread, and it is a bread you'll find across France. The bread, also called French sourdough, is typically a large round loaf made from either natural leavening or baker's yeast. And the most traditional versions of this bread are made with a combination of white flour with whole wheat flour and or rye flour, water, leavening, and salt. And this bread works well with red or white meat and with any hearty lunch or supper dish. It's particularly good when lightly toasted and served with charcuterie. Pain de mie is a white or brown bread with a thin, soft crust. This bread is mostly sold sliced and packaged in France. Pain is the French word for bread, and le mie is the soft part of bread, called the crumb in English. So ang kaninga bread sa France kay sliced bread anhi sa Philippines. Next is fougasse, a type of bread typically associated with Provence but found in other regions. Can be served plain or with olives, bacon bits, anchovies, or cheese. Next is pompe à l'huile. The name refers to the shape of an old olive oil press. This bread is part of a Christmas tradition of 13 desserts in Provence. Pompe refers to a pump of olive oil, and this bread traditionally doesn't have butter or eggs in it. This bread is lightly sweetened bread made with young and fruity extra virgin olive oil, which would normally still be just a few weeks old when making this around Christmas time. Kung sa Philippines, dili mawala ang ham during Christmas, sa Provence, dili pod mawala sa ilaha ang kaninga bread during Christmas time. Next is pain d'épices, which means spiced bread because this bread contains rye flour, honey, and spices. Spices such as cinnamon, coriander, ginger, and star anise. So this is a French cake or quick bread. So kani siya kay nani siya ay leavening agent such as baking powder or baking soda. This delicacy is popular in the Alsace and Champagne regions of France.
Brioche, believed to originate from Normandy in the 16th century, a bread of French origin whose high egg and butter content gives it a rich and a tender crumb. It's a soft, lightly sweet, rich bread that works in sweet and savory dishes alike. The reason brioche is so light and tastes so rich is because it's made with an enriched dough. When we say enriched dough starts off like a lean dough except it has a higher concentration of fats, sugar, and dairy. There are several types of brioche. The first one is brioche parisienne, believed to have come from Normandy. Brioche à tête or parisienne is a brioche baked into a fluted round tin with a ball of dough placed on top to form the head, the tête. Ang tawag sa kaning ulo-ulo niya kay nas mabaw kay tête. For breakfast, the French love a sweet moment to start the day, and will have brioche slices with jam or Nutella spread on them, served alongside a warm or milky coffee. So ang kaning Nutella or ang kaning jam kay ari ni spread sa mabaw, mura pud siya queso de bola nga kanang ensaymada ba kanang butangan pud og cheese ang mabaw. Next is the brioche de Nanterre. Is a loaf bread made with 2 layers of brioche dough rolled into balls. Unlike the brioche parisienne, the brioche de Nanterre is rectangular and made up of balls of dough placed side by side. A French origin bread, very rich in butter and eggs, but still resulting in a light fluffy texture. The yeast mixed with warm milk gives rise to the overly fat dough to give it a more puffy shape. Next is the brioche trisé de Metz. Treize mains braided, 3 pieces of dough braided together. The dough is typically shaped in a large twisted braid, while the origin of the brioche is closely associated with the city of Metz. Maong treize ang gipangalan kay because treize means braided, kanang gi-centipede ba. As you can see in the picture, kanang murag gi-centipede jud siya pagkabuhat. Then ang kaning di Metz kay associate with the city of Metz. Next is brioche Vendienne, a French braided brioche, braided by hand and gilded on the top. This soft, slightly sweet bread is flavored with either brandy or orange blossom water. A large round brioche that is sometimes called pain de Pâques, as it is usually served for Easter and sometimes during weddings in the Vendée region of France. Next is the Connu. Seems to have originated in ancient Hainaut, but the bread of Jesus is now spread throughout the southern Low Countries. Connu, or bread of Jesus, is bread baked during Christmas time and is typical of the southern Low Countries. Maong bread of Jesus kay mabake siya during nasa Christmas time. Yeah, the bread of Jesus is a sweet bread formed like a baby Jesus. It is made with flour, eggs, milk, yes, raisins, and sugar. Usually, it is given to the children during on Christmas. Next is the tarte tropézienne, also known as La Tarte de Saint-Tropez. Is a dessert pastry consisting of a half brioche filled with lemon and vanilla pastry cream and topped with pearl sugar. The tarte tropézienne consists of a brioche lighter than a traditional brioche in terms of quantities of eggs and butter, and flavored with orange blossom water. The surface is completely covered with pearled sugar and delicately sprinkled with icing sugar. Next is the pain complete. Pain complete is similar to the sliced white bread, pain de mie, except it is whole white wet bread, less popular in France than pain de mie, but is starting to catch on as more and more French people start to pay attention to their diet. This whole bread is much richer in fiber than white bread and is made from whole grains with less sugar. Next is Pony de Romance. Is a kind of brioche lightly flavored white orange and rum. This recipe dates back to medieval times when it was made in a ring or crown shape to celebrate the end of Lent, as eggs could then be used again. A specialty of Romance chorizo in Rome, Pony is a delicious ring-shaped leavened dough brioche. Its origins date back to the Middle Ages and it was only made for Easter. Next is Galette de Pain. A flatbread is a bread made with flour, water, milk, yogurt or other liquid, and salt, then thoroughly rolled into flattened dough. Mura siya og piyaya flatbread pod from the Philippines, especially common siya sa Negros Occidental kay mao ni ilang popular delicacies. Lastly is the ficelle, likely originated around the same time as the baguette in the 1920s. It's made from the same light. It gained fat status in Paris during the 1980s. It's often used in the production of croutons, while it is regularly sliced and accompanied by a spinach dip. The word ficelle literally means string in French. Similar siya sa baguette but much longer and thinner siya.
Good day everyone, I am Crystal Olivar. For today, I will discuss about the meat in French. The first one is pork, or the French term is porc. Pork is the most commonly eaten meat in France, 38% of the total, 3/4 of it in the form of cooked meat and salted meat. The famous dishes of pork in France is pork blanquette, a traditional French dish of slow-cooked pork. Pork blanquette is a French dish made with pork, bacon, carrots, onions, and mushroom. Slow cooked in a rich wine sauce is a French cuisine at its best. So if mangutana mo kung unsay kalayhian sa pork ari sa Pilipinas ug sa pork adto sa France is pareha ra sila nga baboy. The second one is chicken or poulet in French. Is a breed of originated from Sabres, France, and also a heritage French breed renowned for their thinner skin, shape, and flavor. Chicken is the most common type of poultry in the world, owing to the relative easy and low cost of raising chickens. In comparison of mammals such as cattle or hogs, chicken meat and chicken eggs have become a prevalent in numerous cuisine. As what I've mentioned, poulet is a young bird, especially a young hen, to keep chickens, its flesh used as food. The traditional French chicken dish is poulet or la bretonne. It's a dish originating from Brittany. A dish is usually made with a combination of chicken, legs, onion, carrots, flour, cider, cream, French, Dijon mustard, oil, butter, salt, pepper, parsley, and rim. The third one is duck, or the French term is canard. Is a type of aquatic bird. In cooking and gastronomy, duck or ducklings is the meat of several species of bird in the family of Anatidae found in the both fresh and salt water. Duck is eaten in many cuisines around the world. The difference between the duck meat and the chicken meat is the duck meat is slightly lower in cholesterol and sodium, while ang chicken is richer in calcium, magnesium, and selenium. At the same time, duck meat is higher in iron and copper. Chicken and duck, both being poultry, have similar impacts on health. Ang nakalainan sa ilang meat kay ang duck, ang color sa iyang meat may medyo may pagkalagumon, while ang chicken kay medyo may pagka-pinkish siya.
Rabbit. The French word for rabbit is a lapin de la crème. Both farmed and young rabbits commonly used in French meals are not labeled as lapiriox because it is a white meat. The fat content of rabbit is very low. It's high in fiber and low in calories. Despite its lower sodium content, rabbit meat has a higher metabolic rate due to its phosphorus and calcium content. There are many different types of meat that come from rabbits, and each one has its own name in English. The most common type of rabbit meat is fried rabbit, which is also known as a rabbit stew. Other popular types of rabbit meat include roasted rabbit, grilled rabbit, and a rabbit sausage. Rabbit meat is a healthy alternative to other types of meat, and it is also very flavorful. Squab. The French term of squab is pigeon. As it's known in France, is a delicacy. Tender, tasty, and delicious squab is a delicious alternative to traditional small poultry. Usually considered a delicacy, squab is tender, moist, and richer in taste than many commonly consumed poultry meats, but there is relatively little meat per bird. The meat being concentrated in the breast, squab is dark meat and the skin is fatty like that of duck. In culinary terminology, squab is an immature domestic pigeon, typically under 4 weeks old, and eats meat. The meat is widely described as tasting like dark chicken. Veal. The French term of veal is veau. Veal has traditionally been a mainstay of French cuisine. It's true that the French eat quite a bit of veal when compared to other countries. Veal can be commonly found in the meat aisles of French supermarkets, at the local butcheries, and relatively regularly on the plates of the average French households. The French likes the finesse of veal. It's generally quite tender, less fibrous, and lacks of strong beef taste. Veal is white or bourgeois meat for the opulent and the affluent. Veal is the meat of calves, in contrast to the other beef from older cattle. Veal can be produced from a calf of either 6 and any bred. However, most veal comes from young male calves of dairy breds which are not used for breeding. Generally, veal is more expensive by weight than beef from older cattle. Quail. The French term of quail is caille. Quail, for instance, is highly nutritious, giving you protein, calcium, iron, and zinc.
Quail eggs are high in protein and choline, good for your brains. As for vitamins, when you eat quail, you get vitamins B, D, A, and vitamin K. Compared to eating chicken, eating quail is better for you because quail meat is higher in vitamin C and iron. Quail gives you vitamin A whereas chicken does not, and quail also gives you more minerals and amino acids than chicken meat. They taste sort of like tiny ducks since their breast meat is dark rather than white.
Good day everyone, I am Kevin Jake Mujaves and my partner is Chanray Gansagaral. So we are going to report about the charcuterie. In French, in English is delicatessen. So what do you mean about charcuterie, or what is charcuterie? So charcuterie is a French word referring to a type of shop specializing in prepared meats, and also refers to the cured, preserved and dried meats sold in the shop like salami, prosciutto and pancetta. A classic charcuterie board is a platter tailor-made for snacking with a selection of cheese, crackers, condiments and more alongside different meats. In other words, it is a platter using a serving board. It is sorted by cheese, meats, fruits and etc. So let's move on. Tools for making a charcuterie board. So you'll need a serving board, plateau de service, traditional platters of all our favorite cold cured meats, but these days have grown to include sampling of meats, cheeses and more, often served with condiments, bread and crackers. Kaning serving board is mo ni butanganan sa mga meats, cheese and etc. Mao na sila. What to put on a charcuterie? So this will be report by John Regan Sagaral. Cheeses, fromage.
Herb boursin or boursin in French, a soft and spreadable cheese with a garlicky herb flavor. It is also the perfect appetizer to serve with vegetables and crackers, or you can add into salads like pastas, chicken recipes, or even bake with it. So how it is made? So it's made of pasteurized cultured milk and cream, dried garlic, salt, white pepper, and dried chips. Next is mimoyet cheese, or in French, fromage mimoyet. Mimoyet is a cheese traditionally produced around the city of Lille in France. In France, it is also known as Bulle de Lille after its city of origin, or Buix Hollandais, because it was originally inspired by the Dutch Edam cheese. So, feminine mimol meaning semi-soft, which refers to the early textures of this otherwise hard cheese. The bright orange color of the cheese comes from the natural seasoning. So, mimollet is classified as a washed curd cheese after a pasteurized and addition of lactic bacteria and rennet. The curd is cut into tiny grains, which are then steeped in hot water to wash them. Havarti cheese, or fromage Havarti. Havarti cheese is a semi-soft cow's milk cheese with small holes all over it. So how is it made? Havarti is made like most cheese by introducing rennet to milk to cause curdling. The curds are pressed into cheese molds, which are drained, and then the cheese is aged. Smoked Gouda, or in French, Gouda fume. Smoked Gouda is a type of semi-hard cheese that originated in Holland. The cheese gets into smoky flavoring from shavings or chips from hickory trees. The cheese is yellow in color and often has small holes in it. It has a dark-colored smoky rind that can be eaten as well. So smoked Gouda is made. Cheese is traditionally smoked by placing whole blocks or pieces in a smokehouse. An alternative method is to add natural smoke flavors to cheese curds before pressing. Blue cheese, or fromage bleu. Blue cheese is a semi-soft cheese with a sharp, salty flavor. It is made with culture of the edible molds. Penicillium give it spots or veins throughout the cheese in shades of blue. Then it's made of pasteurized cow, sheep's, or goat milk and ripened with cultures of the mold Penicillium. Blue cheese generally has a salty, sharp flavor and a pungent aroma. It is often relatively low in fat but has a high sodium content. Next is Southern Pimento cheese spread or fromage au piment, which is a little spicy and perfect for spreading on crackers. So, how it is made? Pimento cheese is a spread most popular made of cheese, mayonnaise, and pimentos and served on the crackers and vegetables or any sandwiches. Meats or la viande. First is the prosciutto or jambon di Bayani. It's made only from the hind legs of pigs and it's aged during a dry curing process. A must for any charcuterie board, it has a chewiness to it and its saltiness pairs well the most cheeses. So next the soppressata or served in rounds similar to salami. Soppressata is a cured meat based on a pork process with only lean cuts, haunch, shoulder, fillet or ham scraps. Unpack it in thick intestine tied by hand with a natural string. Next is calabrese or calabrese. Sliced thinner than the soppressata, it has a good bite. A dry sausage that is traditionally made with only pork meat but at times is combined with a small amount of beef. So kani siyang calabrese kuno kay nani siya sagol nga beef. Mo ni siya gi-combine ang meat ug ang beef. Next is mortadella or mortadelle. Is made from meat and fat from pork only and also contains, depending on the quality of the product, pork rind, emulsion and or cooked stripes. Tripe and pork stomachs are used for reason of cost and taste because tripe not only is a cheap but also contributes to the flavor in a unique way.
And now let's move on to crackers and condiments, crackles and assaisonnement. So the first one is salt crackers, biscuit sela, also called salatina or soda crackers, are a popular and versatile snack made with flour, a leavening agent with like baking soda and yeast, shortening and coarse salt, to serve as an herbaceous base for any cheese and meat pairing. So the second one is rye crackers, crackles de sigel. Add a different shade of brown and have a crunch unlike anything else on the board. Baguette faisselle is a long thin type of bread of French origin that is commonly made from basic lean dough. So the next one is long thin crackers with a seagulled edges provide visual interest and serve as a perfect vessel for cheese spread. So next is stone ground mustard is moutarde molsorpiere, a condiment produced by grinding brown mustard seed with a stone mill to provide a coarse textured food spread, typically spicy. Stone ground mustard is a popular topping for sandwich meats and cheeses as well as a variety of sausage. So ang kaning ground mustard is nindot ni siya i-pair sa meats, cheeses and sausage of course. Then ang tupelo honey is nindot ni siya pang pare sa crackers. So the next one is tupelo honey. Mel di tupelo is a raw unfiltered honey come from white tupelo trees that thrive in the many rivers, lakes, and wetlands in the middle sections of the Florida Panhandle. Kaning tupelo honey is best pair for crackers and condiments. And now let's move on to fruits and vegetables. These fruits and these legumes: sweet drop peppers, poivrons ocres are miniature and cute and also unexpectedly sweet. This sweet drop pepper, also known as Incan red drops, have a sugar-like sweetness and paired with cheeses and charcuterie, and it tastes both sweet and sour. So the next one is red, green, and purple grapes. Less raisin, bring three different pops of colors. These red seedless grapes are too crisp and sweet with a mild natural flavor. And for the green seedless grapes are crunchy and mild with a sweet yet slightly tart flavor. And for the purple grapes is it has a sweet like a Concord grape to the slightly spicy black beauty grape. So the next one is dried fruits. Fruit sec offer a textural balance to fresh fruits. Dried apricots in particular pair well with several other items on the board. So this which addition to pairing well with cheese and meats adds to a pop of color. And now let's move on to pickles and nuts. Les cornichons des nocietes. So the first one is marinated olives. Olives marines set in a bowl on board are always a crowd pleaser. These olives are a popular snacks and best pair with most types of cheeses. So the next one is rosemary. Walnuts, nox de romarin, are a simple but flavor pack upgraded from plain nut. This rosemary walnut is made with mixed olive oil, chipotle powder, and salt. Then add the walnuts. These rosemary walnuts are perfect for party or snacks. Gherkins, cornichons, or homemade pickles, or one of our favorite pickle brands, bring some brine to the party. So the next one is Marcona almonds. Amandes Marcona belong on every charcuterie board. They're oily, salty, and absolutely perfect for pairing or eating individually. So let's move on how to make a charcuterie board. So the step 1 is place the cheeses. Step 2 is add balls and decorative greenie. Third is pile on the meats. Step 4 is arrange the crackers and condiments. Step 5 is fill in the gap with grapes and add the pickles and nuts and serve and enjoy.
And that is all for our presentation, everyone. We hope you learned something from our report. Thank you.